guys, welcome to Private Lesson episode 20. I can't believe we've already done 20 of these things. Today we're working with Talan, Daniel, who if you watched any of these videos, you've seen them separate. This is their first class together. They've both been bugging me to get together and do a lesson with them too. So they had some fun together, and then Matt, first time student, joined us as well. Matt was one of those guys that right away, even though this was his first time without any formal instruction, he was soaking things in right away, and his body position was really impressive right from the get-go, which was pretty cool to see. We got some rain the night before, track was pretty wet, the section we worked was getting roughed up pretty quick and definitely was pretty slick. So we end up working and strategizing on a section with rollers coming into a corner with basically mud thrown into the roller. So I was just trying to get those guys to keep the bike light and that type of thing coming into the turn. As always, comment below, let me know what you guys want to see from these videos. Please hit the subscribe button, and I hope everybody's staying home and staying safe. Enjoy the video. Alright, out here with Talan and Daniel, who you guys have most likely seen if you watched any of these videos. These guys are regulars. They're with me. Daniel's with me 2 or 3 times a week. Talan's with me probably 2 or 3 or 4 times a month. So both these guys, Talan's on an 85, Daniel's on a Super Mini, are very aware at this point of what to do. And joining Talan and Daniel today is Matt. Matt's on a 450, bigger dude. Didn't tell me his height, but he's got to be probably 6'1". But watching him, they're doing their warm-up right now, and watching Matt do his warm-up, he has issues with his sitting position, then he has issues with his elbows. But other than that, his attack position standing up, considering he's had no formal instruction, he says, is pretty good. He rides on the balls of his feet, which is super important, especially when you're that big. His knees are back, his butt's back, his hips are unlocked, but he rides with his elbows tucked to his side, which is going to become an issue, and it becomes really obvious when he's in the corners because he's constantly doing this in the turns. Look at that foot position, real good. As soon as you sit, that's when things start getting sloppy, and that's when the elbows come into play too. I was just telling the camera, I was like, your position standing up is amazing, especially from the waist down. Your hips are good, your knees are back, you're on the balls of your feet, you're allowing your heel to drop when you're on the balls of your feet, which is really putting that weight into the pegs, which is good, but those elbows are dropped. So as soon as you go to sit for any of these turns, all of your issues are over exaggerated, because your head is just flying from one side to the other, and you're a big dude and you're tall. So you have that higher center of gravity dancing around like this, it's causing some issues, and then your feet just start doing this. And you have long legs, so as soon as your leg starts dabbing, it's ripping you off the bike, like pulling you back in a position you shouldn't be. Talan came around this last time, I think I got it on camera. Came in with good speed. You didn't brake super aggressive, which you have to be careful of braking right now because of how slippery.
Yeah, I was gonna slip out.
Yeah.
I'll just go.
So we're just like allowing just the softness just to decelerate
you
or a downshift. Like just use that engine brake to decelerate you rather than braking aggressive, because you're gonna get crazy front end twitch if you do try to brake. So you just let off, you came in and you just kind of kept your momentum up, got smooth on the gas, left both feet on the pegs. Conditions like this, you have to allow the bike to dance around under you, and you have to be willing to make mistakes, small mistakes. But if we can leave the feet on the pegs, it's going to limit the mistakes we make. If you start trying to dab your feet to the ground, one mistake is going to turn into 7 or 8 by the time you exit one turn. You know what I mean? You'll dab your foot and you'll be like, oh, okay, oh, no, and you end up dabbing it over and over and over. You're going to dab your foot sometimes, it's going to happen. But if you do it, really get in the habit of immediately just returning it to the foot peg, so that mistake is isolated just to be one, and then you can just get out of that turn and get it done with. If you keep trying to leave that foot out, especially where you put your foot, you put it really low anyways, it's just susceptible to keep dragging the ground. Your front end is going to break traction. You put your hands on the bars. You just have to expect that it's going to. Sit forward a little bit so we can get you in a realistic position. We have to keep you here no matter what. Tighten your abs and keep your elbows here. As soon as this starts to drop, stuff is going to be falling one way or the other. I turned my back for 2 seconds, but Talan said you push the front pretty hard on that left-hander. And when you push the front, if your elbows are in the right spot, what does it look like? It looks like this, right? You can allow the front to get loose and kind of do its thing and slide under you, which it's going to, but as long as your elbows are up, you're going to save it. See where his downshift happened? Way up there. You see, for a second, he got that little elbow drop, but then he kind of caught it before it got too bad. Cool thing about standing up, and the reason I like to stand up in conditions like this, is that you can allow the bike to lean under you. So when you sit, great speed coming in, perfect downshift location. You got it right at the beginning of your braking zone up there. Good speed flowing through the turn. Your elbow dropped for a split second, but you kind of caught it before it got too ugly, which was good. And you guys need to be hyper aware of that so you can catch it kind of as it's happening and not let it drop fully. Oh, I know what I was saying. Standing up is good in conditions like this because you can work the bike under you and let the bike fall under you while keeping your upper body a little bit more vertical. So it just gives you that extra little boost of confidence and even more control in conditions like this. When you sit, remember what I teach is what you have to lean with the bike. So that's the tough part, is going through this turn. If you were sitting down, if you're getting this much lean angle,
you're with it.
You have to lean right there with it. And that's one thing I just noticed when you were standing, Talan, is you were trying to lean with the bike as you were standing. Don't be afraid to push that bike down under you a little bit. Put the pressure into this leg, and you can still keep both elbows up, but just allow that bike just a little bit. It doesn't have to be way under you, but just a tiny bit so that you don't have to be doing crazy lean with your upper body.
Bump right there is kind of sketchy when you're going into it.
Oh yeah.
But the more speed you carry, the lighter your front end's going to be and the less it's going to fall into that bump. I would guess that on a 450 I'd probably come in and just loft the front and kind of wheelie over that bump, so I didn't go in it at all. Talan's going to kill you speed wise right now is that entry speed.
Yeah.
I don't know what it feels like when you're on the bike as opposed to watching him come in, but he's going quite a bit faster than you just on the entry alone.
Yeah. I hate mud.
Yeah. Well, because you try to be a little bit too perfect on the bike sometimes.
But when your bike's got
Which I have
bike
the same
flow.
problem. Yeah. And he's like taking the risks, but at the same time, he's not really making that many mistakes, right? All right, let's see how he does it. Watch his feet, because his feet when he did his warm-up were great.
Oh yeah.
Holy cow.
He has really good body position.
Really darn.
Yeah.
He says he's never been tall.
Oh,
there it is.
dragged it.
And you see how he allowed the bike to lean under him just a little bit? And as he started accelerating up the hill, what did he do? He drove his upper body forward.
This is first time?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Compensate. Be careful where you put that load on the front end. So right in the slickest spot, and there's a big kicker, Talan drove in super hard and decelerated hard, so the front end had crazy load right here. You got to keep the bike light here so that you don't get stuck there, and then you got to keep the bike pretty light in that spot there. All three of you guys at one point or another have come into that turn and done all of your braking and decelerating so that your front end is crazy loaded in that spot. And that's exactly what happened to you. You hit it, it like sucked you in, and at the same time you were initiating your lean angle, so it just took that bike right out from under you. You have a rut that's formed, and you're starting to get a bump right here. So I would use this bump to loft my front end over this spot here. Yeah. And then work your way up so that you can approach it with speed and still do that. Because then look at, once you bypass this, we're right back into, you're gonna get pretty good traction from here on out. So you can rely on coming in hot keeping the front end as light as possible here, and then driving the front end in pretty hard in this spot here. Okay, so a faster version of that is what's gonna work. Nice. Good job. So Matt just tried to time an acceleration here, but he didn't fully commit to it, so he still hit pretty hard into the bump. Talon's doing a good job of wheeling it, but he's just going too slow to make it happen. He's got to do this wheelie with some speed. What he's doing is absolutely perfect. He's just got to do it with a little more aggression. See, Daniel slammed that a little hard. That could end up biting you if you're not careful. And so see, Matt's hitting it and it's compressing and unloading his front end, so the front end's too light here and he's really struggling to get the lean angle he needs. On the gas! Yeah, that was good. All right, so now in this turn, we're working a bit of an unorthodox line, going from way out, squaring up and getting straight so we can come across all of these ruts. It's super slick today. The problem with these ruts is they aren't fully developed yet and it's too greasy. So these guys aren't able to carve the takeoff. I don't feel comfortable with them carving up the takeoff just yet. Yeah, obviously pros would take these lines and carve up the takeoff. It's a bit higher risk, but they could do it. There we go. But for Talan and Daniel and Matt, I'm trying to get them to simply just take the time, get squared up, and then just cut straight across all these ruts. So the main line really goes here and out. It goes here and out. But it's so slippery right here. Whoa, that I just don't feel comfortable with these guys carving. I'd rather have the flat part of their tires on the ground. Elbow! And the key here is to take the time to get squared up and then accelerate hard early. On the gas! Not bad. So that if you do slide out, it's happening back here and not up there. What you don't want to do is square up, take your time, get nice and straight, la-di-da, take your time even more, and then last second go, oh, I'm gonna decide to jump this thing and accelerate hard at the top, because that's when you get your kick. Getting there. So our struggle at the beginning was creating the angle. Then once we got the angle, both of you guys were struggling to, I had to demonstrate for you, we're struggling to just get the RPMs up and attack out of the turn. The problem with both of your guys' bikes is you're kind of on in between second and third gear. Like I was like, second gear ran out, but third gear, it just wasn't quite enough. So what Talan just said is he went second gear out of the turn. Then what? You probably shifted right at the bottom of the takeoff?
Yeah.
That might be worth trying, Daniel, just so you could really get that hard acceleration early. You can tell by the way this line is forming, you're both accelerating really hard where I put this cone, which is great. Like even Daniel, you had one time where you accelerated hard here and you still got a little sideways, but you had so much forward momentum at that point, it didn't really matter. I was hitting the jump, taking those lines? Absolutely not. Getting there. Bye.